Hey everyone, welcome to Betsperts Golf here for little Charles Schwab Challenge, Colonial Country Club, and I really want to get my friend Andy's thoughts on second major PGA Championship in the bag. Scotty Scheffler, when he wins, Andy, it just feels inevitable. You feel like you're such a moron for not having it, even though there were so many good reasons to not have. The price was insane. Really, people made the case for him being like third out of those three guys this week, but Scheffler just, sometimes feels inevitable. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, it sucked too that we didn't get some drama from Rama. Like it looked like we were about to have a very fun finish, and that is just kind of ho-hum. I want to understand why I can't like Scotty Scheffler like I like Tiger Woods. I don't know if it's the wrong time in my life or what, but like when Tiger won the US Open by 1 billion shots, that was cool. I was pumped. I don't know why that wasn't boring, but when Scotty runs away with one, it's not like he's a boring person, is he? He's not super exciting, but he's not Cantlay, and he's not he's not unlikable. I just can't get like super excited about his run of dominance like I did with Tigers. That said, I think the biggest takeaway was, should we count the Masters win after the driver gate? I want to spend the next half hour. But you know what? Here's the only thing I'll say on that, because I jest like Rory.
I know.
Absolutely. It's not like it was it's not like they don't check drivers in Augusta. There's just different rules for the USPGA. The biggest fucked up part of that, and where I almost don't blame him for not going to do post-round interviews after that sort of stuff leaked out, and if you're unfamiliar, he brought a driver, they inspect your clubs, and they said, this is non-conforming, you can't play with this. He had to go to a backup driver, and people like, that was the driver he used at Augusta. So people had some fun with that. I'm obviously having a lot of fun with that. In my mind, we're back to 5 career Grand Slams. But the fucked up part is 10 people had their drivers say, no, you can't use it. Who are the name one of them?
Scotty Scheffler.
Was it? Yeah, like it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy that like and then like the other ones, it's like I don't think they let a lot of the other names out.
They almost never do.
Two crazy parts is Scotty Scheffler was another one, and then he won, which makes it feel like, well, should we be using that as part of an excuse for Rory at all now? And granted, they're different people, different drivers. But then the other 8, just like, we'll never know. We'll never know who those people are. That would kind of piss me off if I'm Rory and all this stuff is out in the world and they're like, we're not going to tell you who the other people were. You don't care about them, because there's probably some like Club Pro or something and no one gives a shit. But Quail delivered a little bit after, a kind of a
I think so.
It's still not a good major championship venue, but there's so much money in that membership. It's going to continue to be. It will continue to be in the Rota. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
It's a powerful membership group.
For sure. And, part of it is a few. So I think it's a fantastic track, right? It's a really good finishing stretch. I mean, they have, some exciting holes at 14 and 15, and then you obviously get into the Green Mile, which definitely, is, in terms of the 3-hole monikers that, we like to, talk about. Like, we got another one this week. But like, it does have some teeth. I think the problem is because, right, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of like actual random people, PGA Tour stops, regular PGA Tour stops that are in the rotation. Pebble Beach, Torrey South, and then Quail Hollow for the most part. They occasionally host majors, PGA Championships or US Opens, and their normal courses. The other 2 are played at different times of the year. So when we go back to Torrey in June for a US Open, or same thing for Pebble, we're playing that in January typically, right? So the agronomy and what you could do to the course is so different. This was not only in the same window, it's like a week later. So it felt just like the normal Quail Hollow stop. You can't really do anything different agronomy wise to make it feel way different. Grow out the rough a little bit, try to soup up the greens a little bit, and they did for the most part, but it just doesn't feel super different. I think it's a fantastic PGA Tour stop. But yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. Where are you going to put it? I mean, it's going to either be in May or June if you're having it host a PGA or a US Open, right? So there's nothing to really change it, but it just didn't feel different. And sometimes it's just nice to have, we only have 2 shots basically to have this rotation with these 2 events. And when we go to a PGA Tour stop, it's always going to feel a little bit bland, especially in this instance.
You know which one of, you talk about this and Torrey South, a course that should host a major sometime, which would be very fun as a PGA. I don't love the consequences of it, is TPC Sawgrass. Can you imagine a major championship? You're tied going into 17. Winds are kicking up on Sunday, and you're looking at that island green. I just hate the idea of the players not being played there, because you couldn't have the players there. That so it'll never happen, because what are we gonna do? The players is gonna go to some rando Florida course. It's gonna ruin that, and I don't think they would ever allow it. But I would love that once in my life. That's fun.
Yeah.
Honestly, is it a good enough course to think about Ryder Cup?
It's a great yeah. Yes. Why wouldn't we?
We've done Kiowa.
Yeah.
Kiowa. I can't ever say that one right.
Kiowa Island. Yeah.
Kiowa Island.
Yeah. I mean, the team comp would be, Ryder Cup would be fantastic.
Just a fun course. It's fun and it's tough enough when you want it to be. You imagine 17, they shave the rough down. Ooh. So it doesn't stop balls that are, it'll stop something that's slow rolling. But if something's trucking, it isn't just going to give you a respite. Oh my God, that would be fun. That should be a rotation for.
That'd be fun. I mean, they would think they wouldn't want that because historically, positional golf better suited for the Euros than.
No, it'd be bad for the team, but
maybe
one of the years where we're going to lose anyway, like 2025.
Ooh, still plus money. I know.
Any other thoughts on last week at Quail?
No, I thought it, people overreacted early in the week to the leaderboard. It did make it feel like, a elevated signature event. The ironic piece is that the guys that were at the top of the leaderboard wouldn't even be eligible for a signature event, which is, kind of funny in how that all works out. But yeah, we did have the cream kind of rise to the top, where we did have, Bryson solo lead on Saturday for a little bit before he found the water on 17. And then, Rahm made a move to get himself in there. Just Scotty just doesn't ever put himself out of position. Like, I heard like Johnson Wagner on the 5 clubs with Gary Williams talk about how like trying to pick the shots. They couldn't really pick anything from Scotty because he didn't have any miraculous shots for Johnson to recreate, because he just never gets himself out of position to have this wild save. He just, he does what he does. He, and now we were gaining like 0.6 strokes per round putting. Like, we just kind of wanted him to be field average. So this is, kind of terrifying as it bleeds into Colonial, because he's always going to come to these Texas courses. In, what he does to the odds board here for a spot like this completely changes the dynamic. Now, again, he's not superhuman. It's really good. He doesn't win all the time. So you very much can approach this in a week where Scotty doesn't win and he creates a little bit more value, I guess you would say, down the board. Everyone balloons out a little bit when Scotty actually soaks up so much win equity. But look, this is a great stretch of golf and a great stretch for him to get the PGA. Now we're at Colonial, where he's like, I don't know, 2-3-2 in the last handful of years. Memorial's on deck. He goes to defend that. And then we go to Oakmont, which sounds like it's going to be a very difficult test, where it sounds like they're really trying to even push for, a plus score to win there. So could be.
And they're making it sound like it's like a Saw movie. Like they want to hurt some people's feelings.
It sounds like it.
Hey, what if the rough was awful and we rolled everything out and we made it harder in every possible way, which I don't like that every week. I don't want that constantly, but it is fun a couple times a year to just watch them struggle. Yeah. First round leader -1, the winner finishes at +2 or something. That's
for sure. We haven't seen that in a while.
See the new hat? Look at that. It's a quail.
Oh, nice. Mid-am? Are you going to qualify? You going to go try for the mid-am?
I'm technically, I don't think my handicap's low enough. I think you need a certain handicap to actually enter the mid-am. Okay. You got to be 25 years old, which I am at least. And
Yep.
I don't think that the handicap qualifies because I've never entered a score into the handicap calculator database, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah, Gain app.
But it's just a good logo. It's the best quail logo, better than Quail Hollow. Troon Country Club, Scottsdale, Mid-Am, September, guys. Be there. I won't.
All right, buddy. Colonial. Kind of touched on it. Course, place we come to for a very, very, very long time. We had a first look at a renovation last year. It didn't play wildly different. But it's been a spot where, despite it's it's longer than you think, I guess. There's just so many dog legs in shot shaping. We've seen some guys try to take those dog legs out by hitting driver at a higher rate than we've seen, historically here. We saw that a little bit last year, significantly more driver usage here than even the baseline years. But a spot where there is a real penalty for playing second shots from the rough. Greens and reg here are significantly less than the PGA Tour average stop. Small greens, and then when you get yourself in the rough, you're less than 40% greens and reg. So positional golf, keep yourself in play off the tee, and then hopefully spike with putting. Just not a lot of birdie chances here. So last year Davis Riley ran away, kind of, which is wild to say. He's the only guy. He won at 14 under, but he's the only guy in double digits scoring wise, and held off Scotty on Sunday. So, any Colonial thoughts here?
Yeah, it's similar to last week in different ways where there's, just like Quail, there's a few scoring holes. You have your opportunities to score. You need to take advantage, but more importantly, you need to not get in trouble elsewhere. And, that's the case with some of these long par threes, impossible par threes. That's the case with, a couple of the fours where it's like, this is not going to be easy for anyone. And you need to just stay out of trouble here so you can score on the scoring holes. Like we said, penal rough, narrow fairways, terrible landing corridors. Even if you are in the fairway, you can be out of position for hitting it straight. Guys who hit a nice right-handed draw, they're going to be looking good if they can do that accurately. Obviously, it's great to hit a draw. If you can't hit it accurately and it goes right to left and it starts in the middle of the fairway, you're still going to be in a lot of trouble because it is penal rough. And you need to be in the right position. You talked about driver usage. There's going to be some clubbing down because of a bunch of dog legs that you can't cheat. And, there are some holes where you can score on. There's a couple of the par fives where they're going to play below par, but there's a bunch of very tough ones. And the 11th hole, as you can see there, if you're looking on screen,
it's a big boy par 5.
Is it the easiest? It's still a big boy, but where's the easy one? Oh, the first hole. I was going to say one of the par fives plays pretty easy, or it has a decent birdie rate. But if you look at the threes as a whole, the fourth hole, 3.17 scoring average. The eighth hole, 3.06. Scroll down. I think you'll see both. I think all of the par threes play above par on average here.
Yeah.
And I think we're looking at a 5-year sample, but 3.02 and 3.02 for the other ones. So just kind of hold on for dear life on the par threes, try to score on the first hole, and pick your spots from there. It is survival golf in some of the spots. But like you said, someone got to double digits last year. It's not an impossible test. And some of it, I think, depends on the wins, guys.
Yeah, Texas, right? Pretty common. This is what I was talking about here. We saw last year, historically a less than driver course. You see sub 60% driver usage, which is, about 6-8% below a standard PGA Tour event. Last year, we were up to 65%. We saw significantly more longer drives, 320 plus yard drives than we've seen here historically. Nothing massively different field wise this year than last year. So it's not like this was a signature event and all of a sudden just the quality was better. We had just more guys willing to risk it with these dog legs and get themselves down there. But then this is what I'm talking about as well in the greens and reg. Greens and reg continues to be sub 60 the last handful of years.
Oh, and we did have the overhaul in 23.
Yeah. So this is the first year. So I'm interested to see if this is a new trend to watch. But this is even dropping. I mean, look at this greens and reg from the rough. 35.8%, 15% or so below a PGA Tour standard event that we typically see. So you got to keep yourself in play off the tee to be able to score here. So Yeah, I just want to see if we're getting any sort of trends. But yeah, you can see Riley at 14, but even, winners, Griot at 8, which is sweaty win, but a fun one. Sammy Burns at 9, Kokrak got out there at 14. Berger, this is the Colonial. This is the pandemic reborn. We came back from the long haul. Everyone was in that field. So this is a big win for Berger here. But you can see, Keegan and Scotty at 9 and Riley out to 14. So not a lot of scoring.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, key stats. I have some notes here. 5th toughest course to gain strokes off the tee with the narrow fairways.
Yeah.
Some 27, 28 yards. So accuracy, positional play, which is hard to model. Less than driver approach is still common. You said that's going up. It's still low compared to the average of, a normal course. It did come up. Last year's average drive was 289 on the measuring holes. And yeah, the off the tee leaders, it's not big. It's hard to gain. Like some of the guys who did well and gained off the tee were like gaining a stroke on the field. It wasn't somebody who was. It's compressed. The scoring is compressed off the tee. As much as we talk about how important it is, the guys who do well at it aren't going to be gaining a big chunk of it and be like setting themselves apart off it. It's going to be the opposite. The people who do not set themselves apart are going to lose a bunch. So it's more of like survive and advance on there. And then approach, it is a second shot course, despite how much we talk about how important it is to be in the right spot. But so much middle iron stuff. And like you talked about, the greens and regulation, if you're in the rough, it falls off a cliff. It was 35% from the rough last year. And again, this is probably where you can make some of your hay. And we talk about, when you talk about low greens and regulation, you talk scrambling. And green and regulation, when you get in the 60%, low 60s, scrambling is going to be super important. Bent grass, which if you made me guess, I think it would have taken like 3 or 4 guesses to get to that. I always forget that we have bent grass in Texas, which doesn't make a lot of sense given the climate. It's hot, but I guess you just water the piss out of it and hope for the best. So there's bent grass down here. Should putt pretty pure. You're going to see some of the guys who have just overall good putting are going to putt well in this because there's not a lot of I don't know, trickiness to that sort of whatever.
Pure surface for sure.
Kind of your surface. And then course history. How do you feel about that here? Because there have been guys, I never love it. I don't use it a lot of places, but here, slight little bump because there have been people who have shown like, I know this course well, and I know where to play the balls. I know where to put things. It doesn't always equate to winning or even placing high, but there have been guys who just like, you never eject here. You always have a plan. And it is some of the same people. It is some of the Texas players. Although, like, speaking of guys, who played well last week, Harris English has played well here.
Harris English had a good year.
Davis Riley's played well here. And then obviously the Texas boys.
Yeah. I don't mind course history here. I much prefer corollary courses. And you can wrap it in there. You can look at it separately, but places like Sedgefield, for the Wyndham, Sawgrass, San Antonio,
Southern Hills,
Walleye, Harbortown, even, Narashino,
Innisbrook.
Yep. I think, Innisbrook or PGA National, I think are fine, right? Like PGA National is a little different, but there's so much water there. You got to keep yourself in play off the tee to really kind of avoid some big numbers. So I looked at that for sure, and it's definitely led me to, a couple of bets. Guys have just played well in those, positional courses where you have to really kind of plot your plan. So I don't mind it. Like I said, I'm with you. I think we kind of are aligned in terms of how we approach course history. I think it's very rarely nothing, but very rarely the end all be all, right? Like outside of Augusta, I really care about it there. I care about, looking at comp courses for sure. And it's a great tiebreaker always, right? Like if I'm between a couple of guys or looking at a matchup and, if you've been here before and that's helped, again, we're coming off of the back of Scotty Scheffler. That was one of the cases against Scotty last week. He's like, he doesn't even come to Quail. look at what Bryson and Rory do at Quail. Like Scotty was 0-3-1 in the President's Cup. Just doesn't matter. Like just, so very infrequently. So yeah, corollary courses for me over specifically Colonial.
And it's like every model you ever built. If you look at corollary courses, it's going to say Scotty Scheffler on top, but some other names that played well on those courses, Daniel Berger. Who,
here, I actually have it.
He won. Yeah, pull it up. But Daniel Berger has, his sample is weird. You got to go back a little further because he missed so much time with injury. But not only has he won here, he's played well in similar courses when he was playing well. A guy you can't bet to win, but maybe you like him as a top 10. Tommy Fleetwood is somebody who popped up in this sort of thing for me. And yeah, just maybe some of the shorter hitters too. If you want to look at I seen somebody was keen on Brian Harman.
Yeah, I think we'll see why that is in a minute here. So let's add, we'll add Colonial. We'll apply that, have it refresh. Last 12 months, and we can mess around with the sample here. But this is, again, Sawgrass, Walleye, where we play the Sony, Sedgefield and Greensboro for the Wyndham, the Oaks in San Antonio, which we've had for the Valero, Harbortown, Innisbrook. We have the Narashino, where we had the Zozo, very much positional golf course, and I added Colonial Hill. Last 12 months, JJ Spawn at the top. I mean, look at Spawn's like, he's got 5 top 6 finishes in the last 20 starts. They're all these courses. It's all these courses.
He's Harmon with a bigger beard.
Yeah, he really is. I think if we back this out a little bit longer, so you can see Echeverria, Scotty, smaller sample of 12 rounds played here. Bud Cauley, 4th. Eric Cole, 5th. Aaron Rye, very popular play this week. It seems like Hoagie, Lucas Glover. That makes a lot of sense. Your boy Mac. This seems like a Mac bet for you. And Davis Thompson. Here's Harmon at 11. I think if we back this out longer, so let's say.
I was going to say, look at a couple years worth. That's where poor Danny B isn't going to show up in this.
No, go 2 and then
he's not going to show up in that either.
I think you see. So yeah, here's Scotty, Harmon, Glover pops up a little bit more. Poston kind of pops in there. There's Akshay. Spawn falls to 9th of the bigger sample. Hisasune pops in here at 12.
Yeah, he's a positional guy.
Absolutely. We'll go 3 years and see what we got in the corollary courses. Again, that just oversimplifying it this week. I think it's a great way to look at building a card or a player pool for DFS. Again, Scotty Scheffler remains. Spieth pops in with a bigger sample. Poston, Cole again. Let's see, we get Tommy. Siwoo pops in the top 10. There's Sune still popping. Yeah, I mean, look, this makes all the sense in the world.
And Tsune might be a really nice top 20 bet too, based on price, because he does fit here. I don't know if I can bet him to win. I might have a flyer on him to win, because now I've got 3 different things pointing me his way. But gosh, he fits nice enough here where I think he could be a nice top 20.
Each weighted. I have 125 on Hisasune with 6 places.
God, that's just such a big number. It might have to happen.
It's a big number, but that's what we get this week, right? We have Scotty at 2.25 in most places, and then we have a big jump down to 25, and then all of a sudden you get to some pretty interesting golfers that are triple digits or so this week. So yeah, so this is again a great way to look at it this week. I think looking at corollary courses. Let's see if we can get a bigger sample of who's performed poorly. That would maybe surprise us. Man, Blocky. It's just if we can get a crowd out there for him, that'd be awesome. But, with his wedge game, he'd be dialed in. Let's see. No one that we're super surprised to see. Let me see the first name that kind of jumps out to me. And this, Thor, small, 6 rounds. Doesn't get credit for that. I'm not going to. Vegas is not a Vegas style type of course. Same thing for a Jake Knapp. Those guys can really separate with, excessive driver. Woodland would be the same case. So, no one that would really super surprise me that's way, way down here. But yeah, good way to use the rabbit hole this week.
100%. Yeah. Anyone who knew DGen what's his name? James?
Oh, dang.
It's crazy. It's crazy that these people, we just know them by their monikers, but yeah, cancer got him.
Oh.
R.I.P. He was a very, I don't know how to eulogize somebody who, it was mostly just a DFS golf tipster, but it was a nice part of the community. And it's the people who contribute the most, I think, are the people that should be lauded for it, because he was definitely one of those. So yeah, R.I.P. D-Gen. Passed away over the weekend.
Hate to see that. Hopefully, obviously concerned for anyone close to him, and hopefully you're hanging in there. Cancer sucks, man. Cancer sucks.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah, that's tough. Yeah, this is a great resource here for folks this week if you're looking to go out and build a DFS player pool that would make DGen proud. Here, this is a great way to kind of pick off that pool. So nice use of the rabbit hole this week. Did you make a model by chance?
I was busy yesterday, so it wasn't even at work yesterday. I rarely take days off.
You never take days off.
I know. I'm just a no days off kind of guy. Plus, even when I take days off, sometimes I don't tell anyone I'm taking days off, because you and I, unless we're doing shows, have the kind of job where you can kind of fake it. Like, hey, I have to write like 3 articles in a newsletter today. I can do that from a patio in Fort Lauderdale. And if I don't have any meetings and I don't have any shows to do, no one's going to know I'm doing this from a hotel room. So oftentimes, and yesterday was a day where I couldn't hop on meetings. I couldn't get to shows. So I didn't get a lot of times to work on things, but I do have my saved rankings from last year. If you want to, I feel like I have something from last year for this tournament. Trunin, I got to go further than that. Valhalla, Jesus. Memorial. I have to go back 2 years. Sony. I feel like I have something for this. Byron Nelson, Wells Fargo, Oak Hill, Tough Majors. So I don't know if I have a good model saved for this one. Sometimes I delete them when it's like, God, this was awful. It just wasn't right. So I might have to build one this afternoon.
Build fresh. Okay.
Yeah, I go from I skipped a couple weeks. From last year's models, I go from Valhalla to Canadian Open.
It's fair. Let's shout out to Andy Lack, our friend here over at Inside Sports. Lack went out and stood on business, took a single bullet shot at Scheffler last week. It's hard to get credit for that nowadays. It's like one of those spots where you can't even victory lap a win because it's Scotty Scheffler. But in this instance where it was Rory and Bryson soaked up so much of what I think the community was doing, Andy stood on that, and hey, good for him. That worked out pretty well. Let's take a look at Andy's model here. Let's see what he's doing at Colonial. All right. Top of his board, Scotty Scheffler, Aaron Rye, Tommy Fleetwood. Here's Berger, Harman 5th. That top 5 makes sense. There's Siwoo, Lucas Glover again, Bud Cauley, Hisasune, 9, and JT Poston 10. Ben Griffin, Davis Thompson not far behind here. So this seems to make good deal of sense here. He's looking at some off the tee stuff here. What are we looking at specifically? Just last 36, distance from the edge of the fairway. Last 50, again, just keeping the ball in play. Great distance from the edge of the fairway week. He's looking at off the tee less than driver. Approach-wise, just rolling form, last 36. Let me see what else we got here. Overall, he's looking at the approach buckets here, 100 to 150, 150 to 200. Approach overall on short courses and very short courses, which is interesting. I guess a great way to do it, even though I wouldn't classify this as a short course. It is going to lend itself to more.
Short.
Yes, because of the dog leg.
It plays like a short course because of how it works.
And some of the distance is tied up in those longer par 3s, that massive par 5. Your par 4s are shorties. So you're getting that approach range. Looking at around the green stuff. And I think he typically does some buckets of putting wise. Yeah, which looks there too. So I'm guessing we probably have some course history here you go. Here's a comp course list. That makes a ton of sense. I want to see if we have, let me go in here. I know we have some stuff that All right, we haven't done it yet. We showed it a little bit yesterday to the folks, and I'll bring it up again. We have some pretty cool new things that are coming that people need to know about that I think probably are coming this afternoon. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think we just have some final nuts and bolts to be placed here, but some exciting conditions that are going to be new for you to filter by. Yeah, let me show it here on the screen. Should be coming this afternoon, I think. Starting in the event type, you will be able to select signature events. You can see here specifically. So you want to kind of look at who's played well in the signature events. You'll be able to take a look at that. We'll also have here very, very soon AM PM wave is going to be in there.
And there's scroll down to temperature.
Oh, yeah.
Is that new?
Temperature's new. We reclassified some of the wind data.
Preferred lies is very interesting.
Preferred lies, especially for people, grass condition. Yep.
People who do, showdown. People who like to look at first round leader stuff. People who like to look at just live round leader or any sort of micro betting compared to the macro stuff. I think that's a fun one. When they do announce preferred lies, you can go look at there are some surprises if you start looking at like who plays well when they can pick up and clean their ball sometimes, especially if you want to add some other conditions to it.
Yeah, temperature too. I mean, like it's probably I haven't gone through it. It's could be noisy data, but I don't know. These are humans they're used to it at the same time. But like, you can't tell me that someone's not more affected by it being 90 degrees than others. I mean, some people can play well. Now, where you're at can matter too. So it could be a little bit of a noisy sample, but it's, again, we just want to give you more data and you can look at it and make the decision if you find it valuable or not. We have this information and we want to share it. So these things that go again are on the back end should be pushed through. We're just making sure that these things are, testing correctly. So those are new. There's also going to be AM PM, which I think is going to be super helpful as well. So there's some of those most recent changes to the rabbit hole should be coming to you soon, which is going to be pretty exciting. I'm excited about it.
I am too.
Stuff. New cool stuff.
Always more stuff to play with. Yeah, so I don't have any bets yet, obviously.
Okay.
There were some names that you mentioned, and obviously I mentioned one that you already had. Whose name I can barely spell, but I always just Google it by Rio. He's 110 at Bet Online. That's probably bet 118 at Bookmaker. I'll probably join you on that. I'd feel bad. It's a guy I liked. It's a guy I mentioned, and then you'd already bet him. I'd feel really dumb if he was in contention Sunday and I didn't have a little piece of that. So 118 at Bookmaker's pretty tasty. I don't have each way availability here in my illegal state, but maybe I will have to add a little bit of top 10 for sanity's sake.
Like, and I know each way is not available for everyone. There are going to be, for the most part, domestics are going to at least should have a without Scotty market as well this week, which I think is viable for some people. Just could be, I guess, a pivot from an each way. Right? It's a different type of bet, but if you're essentially trying to get paid something in hoping that Scotty, if he runs away with it, you still have a sweat. A without Scotty market or each way is definitely why I'm going that route this week. I went that route with all my bets this week, and for the most part, stayed away from the top of the board to keep those, I think affordable. Right, not having a crazy week. I did also jump Andy as a prisoner of the moment. There was a rogue 480 on Scotty at the U.S. Open, and I took that on Sunday.
480 to 1 is a good price.
Plus 480, where it's now like 3.25.
Yeah, anyone who's not looked at the odds board for this one, Scotty is hovering between 2 to 1 and like 240. It is, we say you can't victory lap Scotty last week, which actually you can. Like, congrats on the win, Andy Lack. But it's really hard this week. You can't this week. It's not a full field, but it's still like what 130, 132 for an invite, and boy, it's hard. As good as he is, it's hard to bet a guy at 2 to 1 in the size field. So this is
if you have some interest in the U.S. Open and you happen to have Caesars, maybe there's some other books that don't. You can parlay Scotty to win this week and Scotty to win the U.S. Open. if you want to get Scotty at the US Open out to like 13 and change, 14, Caesars will allow you to do that. Maybe there's some other books that have done that. So I did play Scotty to win this week in the parlay so that I have a little bit more Scotty for Oakmont. But
or just the parlay, I think if I was going to place a parlay, if I wanted some Scotty parlay action, I can get him at 7-1 right now at Bovada with the free leg of Europe plus 140. I may have to place that just because I said I was gonna.
I know.
But the worst part is the U.S. Open's in like 3-4 weeks.
That's the worst part. You're just hanging that out forever.
Well, no, that was the positive. That was the good news, bad news. That was the good news. The Ryder Cup is in the fall. Like that one's gonna sit there for a while.
Yeah.
And obviously if the numbers shift, you could always you could hedge your way out of it, honestly, with a little bit of US, maybe US Live if they have a nasty Friday. So play that. Other long shots I've looked at, I guess. I wish Berger's price was a little bigger for what he's done so far. I don't think I can bet him at 20-1.
No, I can't either. I obviously I like him. He's a great fit, but probably viable chalky one and done this week. But I even already played him for one and done, so I can't even use him in one and done. So I have to, which is nice, a nice natural pivot for me because I used him at I think I used him PGA National. But
thoughts on Harmon at about 50?
Don't hate it. I went somewhere else. I went with JJ Spawn at 50.
Okay, I guess I found a Harmon at 60. That's maybe a little more.
Harmon just won in Texas, obviously, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Positional golf. Yeah, just not a guy I love to bet.
I don't like him as a person.
No, he might be a fine person. I hate watching him golf, though. I mean,
I think that's what it is. I've never met him. He might be a very nice guy, but I don't like watching him. Perform.
The waggle is just unbearable. Yeah,
it feels like you're watching a GIF. It's like a GIF.
Yeah.
Did you know there were a time, guys? There was a time before GIFs. Somebody had invented it. 20 years ago. And I remember the first time I watched a GIF was a GIF of a guy chopping a tree. And I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a video. And it's a guy chopping this huge tree. And I watched it for like 7 minutes or something. Like, all right, I'm invested. I'm going to wait for this guy to chop this tree down. And it was like the same 3 chops over and over. I just had no idea what was going on. And that's what it feels like. I tell that story. That's what it feels like to watch him approach a golf ball. Because it's like, is this a loop? Is this like the scene from Speed where they loop the video? Is he ever going to hit this? I think that's why I dislike it. But at 60-1, I can forgive a little. So I think my card's coming together.
Nice 60, Speed callback.
Yeah. Oh, one of my first R-rated movies. That and The Fugitive. That was
a fantastic movie. Just such a
bangers only in the mid 90s. Yeah, those are good. Those are good, and I'd rather watch them than Brian Harmon, obviously. But at 60-1,
part of this is on the networks at this point. When you give us Tom Kim,
I thought you were gonna say they don't show those movies enough.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. They don't make movies like that anymore. I've heard some great Matt Damon discussion on why that is, but yeah, it's really weird that don't give us the player until he's addressed the ball and he's mid whatever, right? We don't need them that early. So the networks aren't doing these players any favors. Just gosh, Tom Kim and Brian Harmon are two of the worst. Cantley walk around his putt for the 15th time. Oh my goodness. Just stop doing it. There's so much other golf going on out there. Just do something different. But yeah. Spawn is my shortest at 50. These are all 6 places each way bets this week. Spawn I like quite a bit. Novak at 66. Potential U.S. Ryder Cup member Andrew Novak, who ejected late on Friday afternoon, but had been playing some pretty good golf on Thursday.
That's funny. That's one I'd circle too, and I can get him 72 right now. I might join you on that as well. I'm going to run this afternoon. I'll get my model put together. I'll tweet it out, and I'll have some plays.
Yeah,
so, because right now it's Harman and Rio right now. That's it.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, the Rio price is. I'm surprised. I really thought based off of his form and the fit. I mean, at least maybe be 80. I guess I don't know.
He's been mentioned by some people. Other people have mentioned him. It's not like he's super under the radar.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing really good golf. Nice little run. So, 66 on Novak, and then 125 on Hisasune and Pearson Coody, the Texan.
Join you there.
Played well here last year. If you like that, real spike putting, and then Lee Hodges at 150. Those are just big numbers. So that's my card. No real, lighter overall than a typical, units played type of week. Just catching the each ways a little bit, and hopefully, we roll over to Memorial and we bet on Scotty at 3-1 to win the Memorial. Who knows? Going for 4 in a row if that's the case, if he takes us down. So it doesn't happen very often. But again, we're going to get to the Oakmont. Hopefully, just storylines continue to be banging. Maybe there's some, the Live boys are at least the top of the board or in contention. Rory wants to bounce back from his media airball. Talk once, talk one day. I will usually back him up, and you'll usually swing. But I don't understand why he couldn't give 15 minutes one day. Because now it's a story. It's a non-story if he at least talks one day. But talking 0 times is really weird. So, especially at Quail, all it's going on, it was just weird. I don't understand it. But, I'm excited for Oakmont. It's close.
Oh, one more bet before we go for the day. Scotty to win the Charles Schwab Challenge. Scotty to win the U.S. Open. Europe to win the Ryder Cup, 35-1.
Yep.
I mean, if you don't put $20 on that, I don't know are you really at Gambler?
I don't think so. I thought we were gonna get some T-Wolves in there, but
I'm not feeling great. No. That's a bad matchup. Drew and I talked about that on the Deep Dive Daily this morning. It's like there is going to be at least one game where they just turn the ball over a bunch like they do, and the turnover differential is like 18, and they lose by 30 points.
Hard to survive that.
Like there's going to be, I think there's going to be some close ones. There's going to be some good games, but there's going to be an absolute stinker or two. Fuck, there might be 4. If Finch doesn't I don't think Finch is a good coach, and I don't think the Timberwolves match up very well. I would be very excited for them to reach their first finals ever, but it's been a long time for all 4 of these franchises. The Thunder have never. The Thunder should have. They were up 3-1 on the Warriors, who famously were up 3-1 on the Cavaliers.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very fun playoff series, both of those. But we get somebody who hasn't got it done in quite a long time, which is kind of fun for everyone.
Rare in the NBA.
Boston, yeah. It is pretty rare to get this, so should be fun. So again, sorry about your Celtics. T-Wolves made.
No, you're not. You're not sorry about the Celtics at all.
I wish you had a bet on which team would have got what odds would you have given me on that? Which team to advance the furthest? Celtics, Timberwolves. You would have had to give me 2-1.
At least.
Probably 3-1 because
they were minus 160 to win the East before the playoffs, even though they were the 2 seed. That was wild.
Yeah. And the Timberwolves were, a dog to the Lakers, I think. Were they a slight dog in that series?
Uh-huh.
And then it was like, well, they're either hosting Curry or going to Houston. And those aren't great. Wow. Yeah, 5-1 maybe. Yeah. My memory's tilted because they've looked so good against these.
As soon as they won that first game against the Lakers, it was like, people were like, oh, wait.
Teams.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate your polite response to my Celtics losing, but you are not sorry about that, and no one is. I was one of those tweets. I always I'll tweet, type out a tweet and then just delete it and not send it. I'm like, it's never worth it. And the other day I was so frustrated, and I just sent the tweet and I looked at it. I'm like, you know what? I'm ready for this. Just send, and I'm gonna get a bunch of eat a bag of dicks, cry more. Just all of it. I soaked it in for a couple hours. It felt good.
When you do that, you just put it in mute and you don't read any of the comments. Let people yell at you, yell into the void.
No, I wanted to feel something. It was.
I don't get political often, but when I do, I don't read the comments. There's no reason to.
Yeah.
Like when the teams decided not to play, the NBA teams decided not to play after the George Floyd thing. Remember, they just said, we're not playing this game. were protesting.
Yeah.
And I tweeted something about it in support of that. Boy, I read like the first 5 comments, but like, we are muting this. The worst one ever was I often post, I don't as much because my wife yells at me for not drinking them as quick as I buy them, but often I'll post when I buy a new bottle of whiskey. And somebody had recommended a cheap bottle called Rittenhouse. And I posted that unbeknownst to me on the day that Kyle Rittenhouse posted bail. And a bunch of people took that as my support. After, most of the other stuff I've ever posted. So I've gotten yelled at for both sides. I was too liberal, but I was also too militant right wing. So I mean, people were mad. I'm like at this point, I'm not deleting this, but I'm sorry if you think that's why I bought this. It was a good whiskey, so it's funny. So funny. The internet is a mean place.
It is, guys. It's not nice.
And rule number 1. Never read the comments. I'm surprised you haven't posted about Boston sports again today being a bit of a downer.
What did I miss?
Drake May's going in for an MRI.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I made that up. Oh my God. Your face dropped. No. Hopefully nobody hit stop right after that. Jesus.
Oh no.
Oh man. Your face got a little pale. That was fun. I've been sitting on that
would hurt.
For a minute deciding if I was going to say it or not.
Yeah. Like, wait,
they
have been in the golf, ecosphere. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Andy. Thank you.
Good luck to everybody this week in Texas. Really fun stretch coming up. The Memorial is one of my favorites. The U.S. Open is my second favorite major, especially when they crank it up. It's fun for 4 days to see a course put 150 guys over its knee and just spank them. So I do enjoy that every once in a while, and I think they have a pretty good setup, a pretty good course for it this year. Looking forward to Oakmont. Looking forward to a competitive Sunday would be nice this weekend. That'd be a ton of fun. So hopefully some guys get in the mix, even if Scotty is one of the members of that competitive Sunday. I don't mind. I want to see some other guys in the mix. And good luck to you. Good luck to Ryan. Check out betspertsgolf.com if you want to play with some of that stuff. We still have the same offers. They're going to be up most of the summer. So you say, oh, Andy, I don't live in a state that has BetMGM. Do you never leave your house? Are you going to visit your aunt in Altoona? Are you going to Myrtle Beach to take the kids go-karting? You may be in a legal state at some point. It doesn't matter if your driver's license says Minnesota. If you find yourself in Charlotte on a layover, you can sign up for MGM. Deposit $10, play it, you'll get that code. So I have like a bunch of legal books. I've signed up at the airport in Detroit. I've signed up at the golf course in Arizona. Like, you just have to find yourself. So again, $10 into an MGM account. If it's new, that gets you a full year, which is a $250 value. If you have questions on that, our DMs are always open, including the house account. And then obviously Drafters is legal in even more states. That'll get you a free 90 days if you sign up for that using our promo codes. Those are always at the top at betspertsgolf.com, which you should check out anyway for some of the free articles. And follow us on socials at betspertsgolf. We'll see you next week.